Are we live? 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 Come on, YouTube, tell me if we're live. All right, yes, we are live. Awesome. Welcome to the second live stream of today. How about that? 2 live streams in one day. Hopefully this one won't be as intense or I don't know if the word is intense is right, but as exhausting as the one earlier today with Paul and Asal from Anonymous with a Voiceless. We went into some pretty damn tough topics. So that was intense. So if you've not checked that out, do go and check that out. It was very informative, I believe, and I think it will answer a lot of your questions if you have any about Anonymous for the Voiceless. Today's live stream, though, is going to be on the topic of the veganism and the climate, basically. That's what we're going to be going into. The first topic anyway, but we do have more topics coming later, so stick around for those. Some housekeeping. So I want to just mention something I've not mentioned before, the super chat option. So some of you leave a lot of comments, and sometimes I don't get to those comments, or sometimes I actually don't have time to like check them or see them or whatever, something happens, right? If you really, really, really want a topic to be brought up, you really want your comment to be seen, you really, really want us to discuss it, you have the option of using super chat, which basically means that you contribute to my channel, so you pay for that. The money goes to me and goes to me continuing to create this content. You support me as an activist, you support me as a vegan animal rights content creator. So it's a win-win, really. But if you do that, if you do use a super chat, then that's what you'll get. You'll get it. You'll 100% have your comment up on the screen, and we'll talk about it. If you are watching this later and you're not live right now, then don't forget to check the progress bar, and you can go and see every single topic that we discuss, and you can just click the topic that you want to look at, or if you can watch the whole thing, that's up to you, but I'm splitting it up for you so it makes your life a bit easier to find the thing that you're most interested in. So do that. Everybody in the live chat, keep it polite, keep it reasonable. You always do in these weekly live streams, which is awesome, but hope that nothing changes today. Keep it up, keep the comments coming, keep the chat coming. I'll keep checking it as much as I can, and we'll jump in. And we do have some guests today. It's not just me. I have actually 2 guests because somebody else just also joined. So we've got, I'll put us all up on the screen now. We've got Radim and Hudson.
What's going on?
Hi, everyone.
How's it going?
Yeah, you're all on. You're on live right now. Sorry to just throw you in there, Hudson. You didn't even get a chance to have a chat before we jumped in.
It's all good.
But welcome, and welcome especially to Radim, actually, because I invited Radim especially to discuss the climate side of things here. And Hudson, I'm really happy to have you here as well, because I'm sure you're going to have some thoughts on the I don't know, the ethical side of things. I don't know if you're like well versed on the climate side of things, but
Dude, I haven't even seen Cowspiracy. Like, okay, that's how versed I am.
That's cool. Then, so like, it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice to have, like, we've got some different kind of expertise here, different kind of experience here, knowledge, which is cool. And we're gonna have some more guests coming and going later on as well. So that's going to be really cool. Welcome, Hudson. I think most people here are going to know who you are, but I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself in a second. We'll go with Radim first, because I'm not sure if people know of you, Radim. I've not brought you on the channel before. We talk on Instagram, obviously. I've had you on Instagram before. Who's Radim? Who are you, man? Tell the people.
Who is he? I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. And yeah, my name is Radim. I go by Conscious Viking, and yeah, it's true. We've spoken. We've done some live streams on Instagram, but I didn't even know you can do live streams on YouTube up until now. So thanks for making me part of that.
Awesome.
And first of all, I would like to point out that I really appreciate that you invited me for this reason, but I am just someone who's like really interested and really curious and really passionate about learning about this topic. And I'm definitely not someone who's aware of these things on a professional scientific level. You know, it's just something that I'm really passionate about. And I've been an activist for about 7 years. And yeah, I'm super excited to talk.
Awesome. That's cool, man. Hudson, do you want to give us a few lines for the ones that don't know who you are?
Sure. So what's up, everybody? Tuning into David's stream. My name is Hudson Tarlow. I am primarily an outreacher doing outreach with Anonymous for the Voiceless. I also work full-time for Anonymous for the Voiceless, creating all of the video content. So any YouTube video you see done on the Anonymous for the Voiceless YouTube is done by me as well. And yeah, just been an activist for about 3 years now. and yeah, primarily focusing on outreach. That's how I know David. And yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Did you see the stream earlier, Hudson, with the AV guys holding the car?
I just saw I saw it on YouTube when you were promoting it, so I definitely will have
Sure.
to check it out. Yeah, I'm sure I'll be making some like little clips off of that video for Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, there was some good. It was intense though. I got to warn you, if you're going to watch that,
Oh, no.
if anyone's going to watch that, you're going to be warned. It's intense. It's not a particularly comfortable thing to watch, and it wasn't particularly comfortable to do. I think we were all a bit tired after it, but I think it was necessary. I think it was definitely necessary.
Cool.
So let's talk about this then. So the reason this has come up, the reason I'm asking the question, is veganism the answer to climate change, is because of this article. I'm going to show you the article that I covered in 5 Minute Friday, and this is it, right? So there's a study. It says the fix to food climate problem doesn't require veganism. It's nothing to do with Trump. I don't know why he's there, but basically this study had a few points, and I went through them in the 5 Minute Friday, but I'll go through them here again. Basically, we're saying that the world doesn't have to give up meat for us to meet our climate goals. We can eat better, healthier foods. We can improve how we grow foods, and we can waste less food. So they were basing it on some statistics that they were saying, like, a nearly complete switch to a plant-rich diet would slash 720 billion tons of greenhouse gases. They were talking about calories and saying if we all eat the amount of calories we're supposed to eat, it'll cut 450 billion tons. If the farming gets more carbon efficient, use less fertilizer, that'll also help. And if farms could increase the yield with genetics, for example, that'll help. Wasting less food would help. And then they came to the conclusion that basically, like, a Mediterranean diet of less meat and less animal fats, along with cutting portions, that would be enough. Basically, that's kind of what they did, right? That's kind of what they put out there. So for me, I mean, what I said about that, obviously, I said in my video that it seems a little bit ridiculous to me that they wouldn't go the whole 9 yards here and say, well, if cutting the majority of animal products out can have such a big impact, then why not cut all the animal products out? And it just seemed to be like the kind of standard rhetoric, really, from these climate campaigners, right? So I wanted to bring in someone like yourself, Radim, who, like you said, you show an interest in this, in the environmental side of things, to get your reaction to that. What do you think about them saying this and putting this message out that, like, hey, it's all good, you don't have to go vegan, just reduce?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've seen quite a few studies like this, and to be honest, most of them, when you look at them, it's like they're quite obviously pretty much vegan friend, like pro-vegan, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of people kind of trying to, switch things up a little bit and change the actual rhetoric and make it seem, always just try to cherry pick, And I mean, I think there are at least two questions to consider here with this topic in terms of how animal products affect the environment. I mean, we already know on pretty good authority that animal products are making this climate issue worse, no matter the amount. That's undisputable. There's so many studies to back this up. I mean, we're not here to argue about that, I guess. But I mean, sure, we can probably improve the crisis a whole lot by just strictly limiting our use of animal products and maybe keep a couple of small animal farms. That's what some people argue. And I mean, that's, if I understand correctly, this would be one of the arguments in this article as well. But to be honest, why keep even those small farms when we already know that animal-based products are so destructive? You know what I mean? It's not like we need to consume those products. And if we did, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now in the first place. And the second question is, isn't it pretty much a given that in 2020, we should be switching to a more ethical style of living anyway? Like, why all this intense opposition? Why all this cherry picking all the time? I'll tell you why, because there's a lot of money involved, and we wouldn't want to hurt the profits of some of the largest industries on the planet. So a lot of these articles, they are also, there's a lot of money coming in to those people putting these articles out. And it's like, if you're aware that animal agriculture is so destructive, but you still hold on to your bacon, even if it's just once a week, which is what a lot of people want to do, like, what does that really say about you as a person? How much do you really care? How much do you really value the planet and the animals, It's literally like sometimes I feel like it's like taking away a toy from a little baby, only it's not a toy. It's a deceased body of someone else. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like, honestly, give me one good reason to keep animal agriculture going, because from reading that article, I still do not see it. We just keep coming up with excuses to keep pleasing our taste buds. And I think it's time to be raw with ourselves. I think it's time to admit that it's bullshit and completely unnecessary, no matter the amount. I just don't see the point.
I'm going to quickly pause you for a second. I'm going to make my point, but just to quickly put this up, because the Vegan Potterhead just contributed £1 to the stream. So thank you so much for that. If you do want to do that as well, you are free to make a comment with it, and we can put the comments up on the screen as well. And as I said, this directly goes towards my work. And there is a comment actually that's just come up. Making animal exploitation more environmentally friendly means absolutely zilch to the victims, which basically supports what you just said, Radim, which is actually a really relevant comment. So thank you, Vegan Potterhead, for getting involved and also for contributing to the stream. Yeah, absolutely. I think I totally agree with. Obviously, totally agree with you. I don't think we're going to disagree on this. I think where I draw an issue here, though, a potential issue with the whole vegan for climate, and I feel like Hudson's probably going to be more likely to agree with me on this. Is that the study doesn't necessarily it's not lying. Right, as you said, what they are suggesting would definitely help the climate, right? And the title of the study, that the fix to the climate problem doesn't require veganism, that's technically not false. It's just short-sighted. It's kind of like where I draw the line is I don't understand how climate campaigners can fight to save the animals and the planet whilst continuing to destroy the animals and their lives, right? That's where I draw a contradiction. But the overall kind of premise of the study is not incorrect, and I see that as like a huge flaw with the advocating of veganism as a solution to the climate problem, in that you can fix or massively improve the climate problem without being vegan, right? And that sucks to admit. That is a tough pill to swallow, and I know it doesn't necessarily. It could upset a lot of people, but I don't lie. Okay, I don't like to lie to get people to go vegan, right? I'm not interested in telling people bullshit to make them go vegan. I'm interested in getting people to face the fact that animal abuse is wrong, and that's why I see a big flaw with the vegan for climate, vegan for planet, because of articles like this, and because technically they're not wrong. They're morally corrupt for sure. They're morally corrupt. However, like technically, if we just get rid of the ethics and don't focus on that, scientifically, they're not completely incorrect. And I find that to be such a huge flaw. I want to go to Hudson for a second. See what do you think about this topic? About what I've just said and what Radim said?
Yeah, so I agree when it comes to when we talk about the climate aspects of veganism. There's always some way to wiggle your way out of it. And I've been down this road so many times myself when I'm advocating. And while some things are definitely worse for the climate, like factory farming, you can always make the argument, oh, well, what if you're fishing in your boat? What if you're like Joe Rogan, who's hunting, his deer and living off of that? And I feel like we can get trapped when we talk about the climate argument, and you can justify a tiny bit of animal products caught through fishing or hunted, but you can never justify that ethically. And same thing with the health as well, which is why I think we should never go down those routes too far, or else we not only create a weaker argument for veganism, but I feel like we marginalize the animals as well, because we take the focus away from their suffering and put it back onto a human-centric view and appeal to human selfishness again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, and I know. I mean, in my video, I made it pretty clear when I said, fuck vegan for the environment and fuck vegan for health, because I do see them not only as flawed, massively flawed, but even if they weren't flawed, I see them as weak, very weak arguments to have someone stop abusing animals. I thought, yeah, I don't know. That's where I stand on that. And already, I have a feeling that you completely disagree. And this, and I hope you'll be honest and actually disagree if you do. This is a space I'd like to get into this with you if you do disagree, and Hudson as well. That's feel free to respond, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you would think that, but actually I don't. I actually agree, and I like what you both said, because I think what you just said, both of you, brings up a very important question, and that is, if you imagine you're say climate activist, right? You claim to be advocating for climate justice and all that. You're trying to fight for a better planet, for a more healthy, sustainable planet. The question is, what does it mean to you, and where do you draw the line? You know what I mean? Like, do you, if I say, for example, I want to be more eco-friendly and I want to like limit my intake of animal products or something like that, does fighting for climate justice mean that I am just going to, limit it to a certain extent, or does it also stretch like all the way to any being on the planet? Like, for me personally, being eco-friendly, being climate friendly also means not harming animals at all, to the best of my abilities. Like, so I draw the line way further than some other people who I've met, for example, who also claim to be climate activists. So I completely agree with what you said, and I think it's aligned, both of those things.
Totally. I think I assumed that you wouldn't, because I know that you were heavily involved with like Animal Rebellion, Extinction Rebellion, and so I know they focus almost exclusively on climate. The impact of climate of animal products on the climate, which is why. But then again, that's my own fault for stereotyping you. I know there are probably a lot of Animal Rebellion activists who aren't completely 100% on board, but they will still do those actions because it's it's powerful, right? They are making some impact, but you don't have to agree with absolutely everything that movement says, right? You can have your own thoughts and views on it. And someone just mentioned something in a comment that actually I think is important, and something I want to make clear that I agree with here. Daniel's saying, I went vegan for environment first, but then stumbled onto animal exploitation and kept running with it. So this is, of course, this is absolutely possible, and not just possible, it's very common that people stumble onto the plant-based diet and living ethically because it's good for the environment or because it's good for their health. It's very common. Health especially is very, very common. What's important though is that they do go the full 9 yards and make the connection that not abusing animals should be enough of a reason to not abuse animals, if that makes sense. Like, animal abuse is by itself important enough to not abuse animals, and that's kind of what we're getting at here. It's like, although some people will find their way to the plant-based diet and veganism, however they find it, the main question here is as vegan and animal rights advocates, does it make sense for us to advocate for the environment and health, and get people and to push that forward when it is very flawed, and when it does, as Hudson said, it can marginalize the animals and their experience when we're trying to sell it as something that is good for you rather than good for them, if that makes sense. So although I agree with Daniel that some people find their way there, I guess what we're discussing here is they're going to find their way through health and environment, regardless of whether we talk about it or not. But as animal advocates, should we not be talking about the animals, I guess, is the point here that we were trying to get to, which we all agree, yes. But to refocus on the question of the live stream, is veganism the answer to climate change? So I guess, I personally would have to say no, and be very honest about this and say it isn't, because as that study said, and there's loads of studies out there, like, you don't even need to read studies to know that, like you just said, somebody could consume a very minimal amount of animal products and the climate would still improve. Like, if every single person on the planet just completely reduced to the point where they're only consuming 1 egg a week from a farm with hens, they wouldn't be vegan. However, the climate would significantly improve. In fact, it would most likely reverse everything if the whole planet did that, right? So in my eyes, the answer to that question is no, it isn't required, which is which causes some complications for those people who go and protest vegan for the climate, right? What is your answer to that question? Whoever wants to go first, like, is it the answer? I want your answer. Is veganism the answer?
Cool. Yeah, I'll give my opinions. And yeah, David, I agree with you that there are many ways that you can justify it. For example, if you had your own backyard hens and you're eating 1 egg a week from them, that is going to be destroying the climate a lot less compared to somebody every day getting in their car, going to buy their Beyond Burgers and package plastic wrap and stuff. And also, I think that then we open ourselves to veganism not being taken as seriously because, for example, when we as the animal activists focus on things like climate, then that gives people like Joe Rogan or the people writing this article an excuse to not go vegan because they can say, oh, well, they're wrong on this aspect. And that's why I think, yeah, we should focus purely on the animals when it comes to this. That way our argument is rock solid and it can't be debunked. And also, related to that earlier comment, someone said how they first got introduced through veganism for environmental reasons, but they stuck to it for the ethics. And like you said, oh, that's a really common thing. In my opinion, that shows even further how we should just cut to the chase. If the reason why people are sticking to it is for the ethics, then I don't want to waste any time talking about the environment. We should just cut to the chase, get right to the ethics from that first discussion.
Yeah. Radim, what's your answer to the question?
Yeah. I mean, is veganism the answer to solving the climate crisis? Like yourself, I'm going to be very honest about this. No, I don't think it is. But I do believe that it is the most essential step towards achieving it. And, now obviously veganism, it has a different meaning. Now we're talking about eating plant-based. Veganism, I'm sorry, everything is frozen now. Can everybody see me, hear me?
Yeah, we can see you. Everything's fine.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, everything froze for me for like a couple of seconds. But yeah, speaking of, eating plant-based, I think it is the most essential step to take. But of course, we want to be talking about the animals. We want to put the animals in the equation. And I think that's very important. There is one thing that I would like to point out. Hudson, you mentioned that by strictly focusing on the animals, just on the animal rights, it gives us this leverage in terms of like having a more stable argument, right? And I completely agree with that. But at the same time, like, I've been wondering the past year or two, actually, whether it's actually something that's going to get us where we want to get in terms of, I mean, for example, just an example. I know we've been, out there in the streets, like talking to individual people for a very long time, many years, leafleting and all that stuff. And it brought us quite far in terms of, spreading the message all over the place. But as we can see now, like the biggest industries, the meat industry, the dairy industry, although many of those farms are not even profitable anymore, mainly dairy farms, they're getting so many subsidies from the state regardless, right? So my question would be, now I think that most people who are, becoming more conscious, more aware about these topics, I believe that they're more aware about the environment, and they seem to care more about the environment, which is, for example, the reason I chose to do these actions with Animal Rebellion and all that stuff, because I think that strategy is kind of effective, because a lot of people are going to get there through the environment. And like we just saw, somebody posted a comment, I got there for the environment and I stayed because of the animals. And I think that's a very important point to keep in mind. So I would also be interested, like, what do you think about that? How do you feel about, in terms of strategy? You know what I mean?
David, you want to go? Should I go?
I could go. I spoke with I've got something quite relevant here. So last week I did a live stream with and Roger Yates came on. I don't know if you guys know who Roger Yates is, but he's a OG, like, OG, old school animal rights activist, been doing this for a very, very long time. Before we were born, actually, any of us. The dude's been in the animal rights movement for a very long time. And he made a point that really hit home with me. When I was talking about welfareism, and I was saying welfareism as a strategy, it actually does make sense, because as a strategy, it can cause animal products to become so inconvenient and expensive for farms to produce that the farms end up closing down because they can't afford it anymore because of the different welfare laws coming in and stuff, right? So I was saying, like, okay, is this not a viable tactic? It's kind of similar to what you're saying now. It's like welfareism is not the answer, right? Abolition is not the answer. Talking about the environment is not the answer. Talking about animal abuse is the answer, right? We want them to stop abusing animals, not just do it for the environment. However, what Roger made this really good point, and he said, if you campaign for abolition, they will input welfareism, right? This is what's going to happen. You tell the government this needs to stop, the government will say, well, we'll make it better, right? This is pretty much how it's going to be. Like, you tell the public, like, hey, look, we need to stop abusing animals. The public will say, well, I would be happier if they were free range. So, I mean, can we not just do free range? Like, they're always going to go for the thing that's, like, easier to do, right? And this might be a case of that. Like, if we're like saying, look, it's all about animal abuse, like, fuck the animal abuse, let's stop abusing animals, maybe that doesn't land with people. But then when they see an environmental reason, they're like, oh, actually, maybe I could be interested, right? And I think that's an argument for us to continue actually talking about animal abuse, because the environmental aspects and the health aspects, I mean, celebrities are talking about that daily. Do we really need more people talking about that? Right? The news talks about that. The media talks. Everyone talks about that. What they don't talk about is animal abuse, because that's difficult. What they don't talk about is abolition, because that's difficult. They talk about improved welfare, and they talk about the environment, and they talk about health. So that was kind of Roger Yates's point, and yeah, it really hit me, man. I was like, fuck, he's totally right. He's right. Yeah. So that's kind of where I stand. I agree with him, and that's why I will now take the position of abolition always, and always an abolitionist message, which is not changing. Never changed. But I did consider welfareism as a strategy for like 5 minutes until Roger Yates educated me, and then also now we're considering environmentalism as a strategy, and I feel like this also applies to that. I feel like this situation applies.
Yeah, I can speak from firsthand experience, because I have noticed so many times when I'm on the streets talking to people, the past year or something, I've been doing 2 cubes of truth a week, and have really gotten to tap into the psychology of non-vegans. And it's really interesting whenever I bring up, do you know what the #1 benefit is of going vegan, which is that you no longer have to support animal cruelty, you no longer have to be a hypocrite. Whenever I ask that question, 9 times out of 10, and I'm working on like a whole 10-minute compilation of all this combined together, when I'm like, do you know what the #1 benefit of going vegan is? They're like, oh, well, I know it's really good for your health, and I know it's really good for the environment. Like, I've seen this, and how it's really good for the environment. I've seen a certain celebrity talking about how good it is for the environment. I feel like that message is already getting out there. Like you said, I mean, it's even on the news. There's been obviously not as much as human rights issues, but it is, I feel, definitely perpetuated into the mainstream. You have people like Kim Kardashian saying how healthy she feels and how she's so much more environmentally conscious now that she's eating plant-based or whatever. And I feel like that message is going to get out there nonetheless, which is why I think us as hardcore abolitionist activists should focus our time and energy on the one group who isn't being spoken about, because it is the most confrontational, is the most uncomfortable when you do talk about the animals.
Yeah. I mean, it is an interesting one, especially considering, like, well, what do you think, Radim? What do you think? What I was saying earlier about what Roger Yates told me, like, firstly, I want to get your reaction to that, like, the concept that he gave, that, I mean, someone who's been doing this for such a long time, and in his experience, this is how it works. Like, what do you think? What is your reaction to that?
Yeah, I'm still, like, after years, I'm still so torn on these topics, and it's like it always puts me in this spot inside of my own head where I'm just constantly wondering, like, what is, like, there is no way of finding out what the right way is, right? So at the end of the day, for me personally, it just comes down to how I feel anyway, right? So it all comes down to all these conceptual things, like all my beliefs and all my, all the visions that I have for the movement and for what I want to achieve in this world, which is whatever, like exactly what you were just talking about, abolitionism. And even though I care very much and I care greatly about the environment, and I'm, this is something that I'm deeply involved in as well. The animals, just looking in the animals' eyes, this is something that's just the most powerful thing I've ever done in my life. And I know that's going to stick with me forever. So at the end of the day, it always comes down to abolitionism, no matter what's going on. So I'm constantly trying to look for different strategies, different ways to target, whatever it is that we're always targeting, the industries, the state, all these things. But at the end of the day, it comes down to abolitionism always. And I also have to say, just hearing about celebrities, every time I hear someone talk about this topic, it just became something so cringy for me, because I've seen so many celebrities lately just stomp over veganism like so many times, like people who've said, like, I'm vegan, it's amazing, I care about the animals, it's amazing for this and that. And then a year later, they just told all the millions of their fans that veganism is ruining their health and it's ruining everything. And it just makes me so sad. So I'm losing all hope in, celebrities doing anything positive for the movement anymore.
I'm probably, I think I'm terrified, man. I'm terrified that, not like these, like with Miley, I was always a little bit like, yeah, she seems kind of crazy. She seems like she's not really, she seems like kind of impulsive. Crazy is not the right word, actually. That's not a really good way to describe her. Impulsive, which didn't really sit well, because it's like, is this all seems a bit much. Like, I don't believe it, and there's others out there too, like that kind of this vibe about. But look, if Joaquin pulls a fucking U-turn, I swear down, like, I don't even know. I'm going to delete my YouTube. If Joaquin Phoenix quits veganism, I will delete YouTube. I will stop. I'll have to stop. I'll have to just go and get a job in an office and just forget this life. I'll stay vegan, but I will forget this life completely. I will just be like, that's it, done. Like, everything's over for me. I wouldn't be able to. I don't know what I would do. I would try and hunt him down. I think I would try and get him. But no, I totally feel you. You're losing faith in these people.
You know what, man? While we're on the subject of celebrities and climate change, like you mentioned Joaquin Phoenix, and there's James Cameron, and these are two people who give me a lot of hope, to be honest. They give me a lot of hope in terms of, like, I just heard that there's supposed to be like a couple new episodes of Avatar that are supposed to be much more straightforward in terms of communicating veganism to the public. So I'm really, really curious about that. But I was really hopeful about the new David Attenborough movie, and I'm really curious. What did you think about that? Because that was the movie that was. It's a movie that's supposed to be like this revolutionary movie that, his witness statement, and I was really looking forward to seeing that. And it was a beautiful movie, definitely. But at the end of the movie, I was actually quite disappointed, because, as always, David Attenborough, he seems to always end everything in quite a hopeful note, and he didn't quite communicate just how grave the issue is. He has, but then at the end of the movie, it seemed like everything is going to be fine. There's nothing to worry about, and I don't know if you saw it, but I'm wondering, like, what did you think about it if you have?
They skirt around it, don't they? Hudson, do you know who David Attenborough is?
He's that British guy who narrates all those Animal Planet things, right?
Exactly. Like, I think you've like understated him, but no, he's a British national treasure. Like, he is like one of the most loved people of England. Like, I think he probably has more love than the Queen. Like, seriously, I think he gets more support than the Queen gets in England.
Definitely.
Yeah, probably. It's not even probably, definitely, because nobody dislikes him. Not one person in England. I promise you that. So anyway, he is a national treasure. But yeah, I've not seen this yet.
Is he vegan?
Comment. I don't think he is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's not
No.
vegan, is he, Radim? No, I
No.
don't think so.
Hmm.
He should be, but I mean, considering he spent his entire life interacting with and
Yeah.
documenting animals, like you would expect him to be a fucking vegan.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wait, is James Cameron vegan?
You would. wouldn't you?
Apparently, yeah. Apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool. I met James Cameron when I was like 11 at a carnival.
Wow.
He was like in front of mine.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But I didn't see that documentary. But did you guys see a documentary called My Octopus Teacher? Have you heard
No.
about this?
No.
So no. So there's a similar thing happened here. Like there's this guy. I'll make it like quick. Basically, it's supposed to be like a I don't know, seemed like a pro-vegan, pro-animal documentary, and it was actually. I mean, he was talking about this guy. He went diving every day for like a year, and he ended up bonding with this octopus. And when I say bonding, I mean like really bonding. It's incredible. This wild octopus, and there's like a story with it and stuff. And it was beautiful. It was actually amazing. And he was saying all this pro-vegan stuff about how, like, you know, it wasn't saying the word vegan, but he was talking about how these animals have their own opinions and their own preferences and personalities, and he was going really into it. But it was kind of vacant, I would say the word, maybe empty towards the end, because it was like, right, now's the time where you've got to make a strong ethical message here and tell people, like, you know, but it never happened. And it's kind of similar to what the Attenborough thing sounds like. It sounds like these documentary makers, they play it safe. They want you to love animals, but they don't want to call out your bullshit, right? Because calling out the bullshit leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth, doesn't it? You watch a documentary and you're like, yeah, I love animals too. And then they're like, so you should stop eating them, you fucking hypocrite. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I'm not sharing this documentary. You know, it changes it straight away, right?
Yeah, that was my problem. That's the thing I didn't love about Game Changers, is how one of the last lines at the end was Arnold saying, oh, don't preach veganism to anybody and just do it slowly. And I feel like they did that because they wanted to ensure that it didn't ruffle up any feathers in the viewers.
Exactly.
Probably.
Exactly. Because it gets, you know, they want the documentary to get shared. They want it to be celebrated, right? And if they had some message in there that was like, hey, by the way, not only is it good for your health, but you're not an animal abuser if you go vegan, they wouldn't have got shared. It would be like, oh, here we go, preachy vegans, blah, blah, blah. You know, people wouldn't share it, so they wouldn't get their return on investment, which was pretty big, I think, for that movie. I think they spent a lot of money on it. So yeah, but I mean, but I still appreciate the documentary. But that was some weak ass shit. After such a strong documentary with so many strong people, you'd expect a strong message at the end, and then it just like no, weak, just so weak at the end. Yeah, it's yeah, celebrities and documentaries are just constant disappointments. Basically, that's the summary of this this conversation for sure. And the reason they do this, though, the reason that they are playing it safe is because of shit like that I'm about to show you, because of what I'm calling Meatflakes, right? Because these Meatflakes, right? This is it, Meatflakes. Hudson, this is what I'm calling people from now on, snowflakes to meat eaters, right?
Yeah.
Because they do stuff like this, right? This is why, one second, this is why documentary makers and celebrities are scared to actually talk about it, because you get this kind of reaction. What the hell is this advertisement? So intrusive. So this company in the UK, they're called Bovril. Oh my goodness, what is this website? Daily Mail, that's why. They just hammer you with ads. Look at this. Look how many ads are on that page. That's incredible. You can't even see what I'm looking for. Hold up, that can't be. Let me just refresh this. That can't be right. I can't handle that. Hold up. So basically, this company in the UK called Bovril, they make this gravy drink, and it's like made out of meat. And they made a new version of it that's made from beetroot, right? And look at this is what it looks like, right? This is like this. Oh my god, piss off. Okay, so this is like the stuff. It's like it's going to be like a savory drink kind of thing. You can put it on dishes and stuff, and like, you know, this is the kind of shit that people respond with. Meatflakes, like 2020 couldn't get any worse. If people want to be vegan, eat vegetables, not fake meat. Bovril is meat, and that can't change. You know, like, this is what happens, right? When you as a company take a decision to do something vegan. Like if David Attenborough said vegan, this would have happened. If the Game Changers said go vegan, this would have happened, right? It's just fucking Meatflakes, man. Meatflakes ruin everything for everyone. And I don't. How do they get so offended? Like, imagine like seeing like a pot of like something vegan, like a vegan sauce, and being this upset. Like, I don't. How would you be so upset to respond like and say something like this? Like, what leads someone to that place? Like, a genuine question. Like, what actually do you think goes through someone's mind when they see that and they get so upset that they make a public comment about it? They're so upset about this new food product that doesn't have animal products. Like, what is it, in your opinion, that's going on here?
I think it's the guilt, because now they realize even more so how unnecessary it is for them to support animal cruelty, that even when they see their favorite gravy company make a vegan option, they're like, man, it's even more unnecessary now to support animal cruelty, that it just fires up those defense mechanisms.
That's fair, actually. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. You think that makes sense? What do you think, Radim?
You know what? Can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
We are literally in the midst of a global pandemic. Countries have been on fire for I don't know how long. The world is going absolutely crazy. Everything is under chaos. There's so many countries under fascist dictatorships, and someone posted a comment, 2020 couldn't get any worse. I mean, Jenny Dodger Lover wins the fucking day for me. And I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. And,
do you know what's funny? You know what's funny? I've just realized something really fucking funny. Jammy Dodgers are a popular biscuit in the UK, and they recently changed their recipe. It's now vegan.
Oh my God.
So this Jammy Dodger Lover is just a complete hypocrite.
That's so funny.
I wish I'd have realized that.
Lover is going to be they're going to be very disappointed when they find out.
Yeah. I wish I'd have realized that.
You're going to change the Jammy Dodger hater.
Jammy Dodger hater, yeah. I wish I'd have realized when I made the video originally, because that would have been a great thing to point out. But yeah, it's brilliant. The irony is definitely not lost here. But yeah, I think Hudson, just to go on to what you said a bit more there about the psychology behind this. Like, yeah, I think it does. I don't want to use like the trigger word, because I feel like it's been overused, right? But they do get triggered, don't they? They get really triggered by it. Because I feel like it's like, they feel like it's I feel like they feel like it's like being forced on them in some way. Like when a company releases a vegan product, they feel like, oh, more of this, moral shit. It's like, Bovril doesn't give a fuck about the animals. Like, you do realize that this gravy company could not give less of a shit about the ethics of animal abuse. They just want to make some money out of a product. So like, I think people view this as an ethical message. There's nothing ethical about it, right? That's sad. But if Bovril was saying you should go vegan, then these comments maybe would be a little bit more expected, or at least I'd understand it more, because it's like, what right does Bovril, the company, have to tell me what to do? Right, I get it. You'd be pissed off about that, right? You'd be like, "Hey, fuck you! Like, don't tell me how to live. Like, that's not your business. You're a massive industry company, whatever. It's not your business." But they didn't. They just released a new product that happens to be vegan. It doesn't necessitate this kind of response, It's good to laugh at anyway. At least it brings us some, some pleasure. And speaking of outrage, now this is something I really want to get your thoughts on, right? Because we're going to stay on some outrage here. This is actually not outrage by only non-vegans. I believe that even vegans have been getting upset about this. So this is a racist advertisement, apparently. Now, and I know out of the two of you, I would go ahead and assume that Radim's had a little bit more experience of the world of, let's say, social justice and, or more specifically, social justice mafias. Because I believe you've actually, some individuals that would actually be offended by this personally, whereas most of these individuals refuse to even talk to me now. So I'm glad you're here, Eddie. Maybe you can give us a bit of an insight into this and whether or not it is actually racist. This vegan food brand has been attacked. They're called Soulful Foods because they made this. And this is Kim Jong-un, obviously Korean dictator. And it says, "Our soul," right? Now, apparently this is racist because in Japanese, "aso," as in AHSO, is a slang, and it's a really derogatory thing to say towards people from Korea. Apparently, this is what they say to people from Korea as like a racist slur. So let's imagine that maybe it's like the N-word, in that sense, but it's in Japanese, right? So people are upset because they say that this brand that is advertising in England, selling things in English, has used a Japanese statement to insult Koreans on a billboard in Wales. This is the logic behind this, right? And this is a vegan company as well, so it's it's doubly kind of sad, really, because it's like it's a company that we don't really want to be getting branded as racist, really. Ideally, if they're not racist. But before I tell you, my thoughts, what are you buying this? Are you saying yes? This is definitely what it is. Like they use the Japanese slur to to attack Koreans, or do you think that doesn't make any sense?
I mean, well, first of all, yes, I have had my share of the cancel council. But I mean, you know what? I'm the kind of person who, first of all, my initial thought when I saw this billboard the first time, I thought it was just like an indication. Seoul is that's the capital of South Korea, right? That's the city. I thought it was just there was some sort of connection between that, right?
That's what I thought.
And maybe there is. I didn't really I didn't really research like any this advertisement. I don't really know what it's about, but I'm the kind of person who, when you see something like this, like I will basically start laughing out really loud. And then like 10 seconds later, I'm going to be like, oh, wait a second. Maybe I should research what this is about. And I always say, I always say that I am the kind of person who is too politically correct for the average person on the street, but not politically correct enough for many other activists around me. So it's to be hated in this position that I find myself in right now. But yeah, I didn't really do my research about this specific billboard. So my thought would be just like, look into it before, bashing someone. I mean, people just like, it's so easy to like share a post, you just see a post that's trying to bring someone down and you just click and you share it and that's it. And you feel good because you're hating someone and you've done something that's going to bring someone bad down. And it's like, it gives you this pleasure, it's this ego thing. And I've seen that so much this past year on the internet. So yeah, I'd say just like do your research, look into it before you make that post. You know what I mean? It's like someone's going to make a post now on Instagram that's going to be like, oh, I've heard that veganism is super bad for the planet and your health. And everybody's going to share it. Imagine how many people would share it without doing any research. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, I can eat my bacon. Yeah, fuck yeah. No one cares,
Yeah, it's fact checking is a thing of the past. Now it's just about clout. What can I share that's going to get me some approval from my friends, right? Whether it be if we're talking about like the social justice mafia, what can I do right now to get brownie points or social justice points, whatever you want to call it? Can I attack this company? Can I attack David Rams? Can I attack Paul and Asal? Can I attack Radim? Even actually, sorry, everybody in Hudson as well. Actually, all of us have been on the receiving end of this kind of nonsense. Because it gets points. If they can point out something in you or in this advertisement or in AV or in whatever, even what any organization based, PETA gets a lot of shit too. If they can point something out that elevates them, right, and their status, like it makes them look more moral, more virtuous, then they'll do it every single fucking time, regardless of how factual it is or isn't, right? So that's a whole another topic. That's a whole another live stream. I think we could get into the psychology of that, or actually, I think it would be cool to bring someone on who actually like knows the psychology really well. I know of a few people that I could potentially bring on to discuss this because it's really interesting, actually. But Hudson, back to the point here: is this an example of a horrible Japanese racist slur, or is it something else? What do you think?
Yeah, so that's one of these things. I'm still like not too sure what the advertising thought process is behind this.
Okay.
Like, I feel like if I I don't know. It seems kind of weird to put a photo of North Korean dictator and try to sell vegan food. Like, it doesn't really.
It is a bit sketchy, isn't it?
Yeah, like, I feel like I would not, if I'm at the store like seeing like, you know, the Beyond Burgers, whatever, and then I see like Kim Jong-un, I probably wouldn't rush to that product. So I think it's just weird marketing. And then I don't know. It's one of those things where, like Rad was saying, it's like, yeah, just do more research before you instantly jump to, you know, canceling this company or not. Just get more informed.
Yeah. I think I said this in my video, but I still stand by it. I think it's supposed to say asshole. I think they were trying to call him an asshole.
Oh.
Right? That's what I personally think. The company themselves didn't actually say what they were trying to do. They just apologized and said they're going to remove it because obviously this shit went down badly. But this what I think, I said this in my video as well, but I'm going to go into more information, more into detail about it now. I genuinely 100% believe they did this on purpose. As in, they put this out there to trigger people on purpose, 100%. Because look, we're in 2020, right? What sensible company in 2020 puts out an ad like this, knowing that how sensitive people are right now, right? It doesn't even matter if they didn't put the arsehole on it, right? If they put something else on it, doesn't matter. You're using a dictator to sell your product. You're going to get shit in 2020. People are ready for a fight in 2020, right? And they didn't even stop there, right? They didn't just do Kim Jong-un. They did Trump. Look, they did Mexicans. I love them. And Trump with a plate of Mexican food,
was
right?
it the same company?
Yeah, it's the same company. Yeah. So,
okay.
So, you know, clearly these people are not afraid to stir the pot, and that's a great pun considering it's food. But they're not afraid to cause some shit, right? And for me, I they did it on purpose. There's no.
Yeah, they definitely, if they're doing both of those, yeah, they're looking.
Yeah, and they did it on purpose.
I mean,
they did it on purpose because look what happened. They got international coverage. They literally they got more coverage than they could ever dream to get by just posting some boring, you know, posters or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the first billboard, I mean, I don't seem to have enough knowledge to be able to kind of facilitate that. But with this one right here, I mean, to me, if the first time I saw it, the initial thought I had was basically, this is a really smart joke that's making fun of Trump. I mean, in my eyes, at least, it's like mocking Trump. That's the way I see it, because he's an asshole who clearly hates immigrants. He's very anti-immigration. He's very anti this and that. And the way I see it, it was actually quite a smart, dark joke that kind of puts like him down. That's the way I see it. Maybe it's not the way they intended it to be, but that's the way I see it.
I mean, it's just silly. It's just silly and dumb, and I think it's offensive. Well, not offensive, but people find it offensive. Right? It's not offensive at all, but people will get upset about it, right? And it's exactly what they aimed to do. Like, come on, like if I've got a product and I want to sell it, right? And the elections are going on in the USA, and people are going crazy about like Trump and Biden, right? And especially that the majority of the mainstream media, is bashing on Trump, and he's become this figurehead of all the things that are wrong with the world. And you stick his face on a banner, like you are guaranteed coverage. Like there's not even a question about whether your product is going to be in the papers or not. It is going to be there. And if they're bashing you, like, and I said this in my 5 Minute Friday video too, the majority of the people that see this newspaper article or whatever, some blogger having a cry about it and writing a 50-page article about how this is wrong or something, the majority of the people that see this stuff, right, are not going to be the people who are going to get offended by it. The people who get offended by it are a minority, a tiny minority of our society, that are very loud, right? They the Twitter mobs and the Facebook mobs and the social media mobs, and they've got a lot of impact because they're good at sharing stuff and they're good at, liking and sharing. But the people who see it, who don't like it or share it or comment on it, there's more of them, right? And these people are going to see that and they're going to be like, oh, that doesn't really bother me. And what's the name of the company? And that's advertising. like I would love to get a hold of this company's sales for the month, right? To see how they skyrocketed, because I know they skyrocketed. There's not even a question, right? This is a brilliant advertising strategy in 2020, in my opinion. Make use of these social media mafias, you know?
The humor, the kind of humor that they use, I mean, the way I see it, that's some pretty Ricky Gervais kind of shit right there. You know what I mean? It's some really smart humor. I don't know. Maybe, you know, people, I might get hated on. I don't care, but that's the way I see it. I think it's a really smart advertisement because, like I said, I think it's actually really, if anything, it's talking shit about Trump. That's the way I see it. I don't know the intention behind it, but I think it's pretty smart.
It's poking fun at him because, you know, he doesn't love Mexicans. Like, clearly, it's poking fun at him. You know, it's not poking fun at Mexicans. Like, clearly, there's nothing there that's making fun of Mexicans at all.
I think it's pretty clear who the target is in that joke, and I think that's
I look at his face as well. Like, it's a horrible photo of him. I mean, look at it. Like, I mean, come on. The same with the other photo. I mean, it's not exactly making Kim Jong-un look like a great guy, is it? It's silly. It's an edited photo. So I don't. Yeah, I mean, people will get offended by anything these days. Obviously, we know that. But I personally, I don't think that either of these are racist, or I don't think either of them are even inappropriate. I think the reaction was expected, and it's helped the company. So that's another vegan company that's making a lot of sales. So I say good. To be honest, I say it's very good. We're gonna go on to some things that are a little bit more serious now. Actually, we've had a bit of fun, but I want to get your reactions to this. Something that I was just completely almost speechless about, actually, but I had to like compose myself and try to make a video about it. This story, do you know about this? If you watched my video, you'll know about it.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're turning pig's blood into protein powder. I'm gonna get away from that picture because it's not, obviously we don't want to see that shit. It's not very nice. But look at this: like 60,000 tons of pig's blood left over from pork production in Denmark. They sell the majority as animal feed, but because it has 90% protein, they want to use it as a supplement in foods. They're saying they can get 5,000 tons of pure protein powder from 60,000 tons of blood. So this is what they're going to do. Have you ever seen anything? So I don't even know what the word would be. It's
disturbing, man. It's disturbing.
Like modifying every single part of them, even their blood. That's
exactly
crazy.
And it's, you know, they label it as nutritious and sustainable, and I think that's just another, you know, form of marketing. They're just looking for ways to extract more and more money from the leftovers, from the scraps scattered around the floors of slaughterhouses. And the idea that they would call this a new sustainable product is just so disturbing and ridiculous. I mean, it might be sustainable if you look at it from, you know, from the way of like using every single piece of a dead animal after you've slaughtered them and taken their lives. If we're looking at it from this perspective, cool. But I mean, why kill them in the first place, right? That is not a sustainable thing to do at all. So how about, instead of turning their blood into protein powder, how about we just stop killing them altogether?
Yeah, keep the blood in their bodies.
Call it a day.
Leave the blood in our bodies. Yeah.
Might be easier the way I see it.
You know, when I read this,
just really fucked up.
Yeah, when I read this, it was like, it just gave me this kind of like harsh reminder of like, because, you know, animal agriculture, like we talk about it all the time, and like, obviously I've been you know, I've been to a lot of places and seen a lot of things that a lot of people haven't. So, you know, but I kind of, you forget, don't you, right? After you spend a bit of time away from like investigations and you know, vigils, you do tend to forget, because your brain doesn't want to keep that at the forefront of your mind. Your brain will push it back because it's too harmful to keep that. You know, that's me anyway. I find I have like really hazy memories of stuff that I did in India, for example, because of this. and my brain was acting, I feel like it acts defensively. It tries to push memories and make them blurry so that you can't really remember stuff that you saw. But that's, I don't know if you guys have been exposed to the kind of shit that we saw in India, but that's what happens basically if you see something like absolutely horrendous, your brain does that. And this really brought it back to me again. And that, like, let's just think about it for a second. Like, they're literally boasting and promoting the fact that they're taking literally 5,000 tons, 60,000 tons of blood. Like, we're not talking about, like, I don't know, juice or something here, or something, water. We're talking about blood. Just think about how much that is. 60,000 tons of blood they extracted from pigs, and they're going to turn it into protein powder. It's like something, it's like the story of a horror movie, but it's real. And it just, the stories like this, they, as I said, they bring it home again, you know, just how fucked up things have got, or like they always have been, I suppose. But really, like, when a company's boasting about this and acting like it's somehow something good, you know, good for the environment, they're saying here, CO2 emissions, and you know, I wonder, is anyone questioning this? Like, are non-vegans looking at this and saying, oh, this is great? Or are they like us? Are they like, what the fuck? You know, how have we got to this point where this is seemingly a good thing? You know, it just blows my mind, really.
I mean, how many people have you met from like years of outreaching and advocating for animal rights? How many people have you met who basically didn't even realize that they were eating dead animals? They just saw the product, they saw a piece of, you know, something that they just covered up in whatever flour and this and that and fried it on a pan. And I mean, that was me up until I was, you know, like 16 years old. But many people go, you know, all the way into their 30s, 40s without fully realizing just what they're eating. They just go to a supermarket. So I can imagine that a lot of people, when they hear this, even meat eaters, you know, they're going to be like, wow, this is weird. You know what I mean? Like, drinking blood, that sounds really strange. So I can imagine that, like, for example, the area where I live, because I live at an animal sanctuary that's isolated in nature. It's a small village, and all the people who live around here, they kill pigs in their own gardens, and they always, you know, let the blood flow in. They're used to it. So I can imagine that these people would be like, oh, whatever, I'll do it. But most people in cities, most people in, like, you know, I would say that a lot of people are going to be kind of freaked out, you know, about this.
Yeah. What do you think, Hudson? Any comments on that?
Yeah, I think that I totally agree with everything that Rad said. Yeah, just people are so disconnected. And also, I think further that just shows just how much work we have to do. Because
right,
a lot of the times, one of the things I like about your 5 Minute Fridays, David, is that you're not just always talking about, and just your videos in general, you're not just always talking about the good news. Like, oh, look how many plant-based burgers were sold, and, you know, Burger King has a new vegan cheese and stuff. Because a lot of the times in our movement, all the big organizations like Plant-Based News and a lot of the other news sources, they only talk about the good stuff, and you get into this zone where, oh my God, we got the vegan world. It's right there. You can just do a couple more steps and we'll be there. But then you really see how, man, we have so much work to do. And I think the article just shows just how deeply rooted this speciesism and human supremacy is, that it's still completely normal to make articles about turning 60,000 pounds of blood into protein powder, which it's shocking, but at the same time, it just shows that, man, we should not give up the fight anytime soon.
Yeah, it brings the message home again that, you know, this should be something that's like secretive. It should be something they're ashamed about, not something that is in an article boasting about how it's going to be good for the environment. And, you know, this is the thing, you know, killing animals in general should be something to be ashamed of. And I, you know, sometimes, like you just said, you feel like you're getting that way. Sometimes you feel like, you know, like slaughterhouses keep their doors closed and they keep the security cameras on and the barbed wire fences and shit like that. They hide it, right? So you're like, you see that and you see how people don't want to see it. And you're like, maybe we have something here. Maybe this could work out. You know, maybe we're onto something. And then you see an article like this and you're like, well, okay, maybe not, right? You know, if some companies are just happy to boast like that and it's not being publicly, like, I don't know, denounced, then you know, it kind of brings you back, like you said, Hudson. Like, it's not all positive. Like, it's not all so clear and black and white. Like, there is a lot of work to be done, I guess. Yeah. As someone's just saying in the comments, as Kirsten Mama's just saying, that the indoctrination is powerful. You know, so some people maybe on the first instinct is to feel disgusted, but then there's a lot of indoctrination. So maybe after the first initial reaction, they actually warm up to it because they're like, well, maybe it's all right. You know, maybe it's become desensitized to it, maybe. And also in Denmark, there was the Mink cull, which I don't know if, I guess you've heard about that, right? This is a big thing right now in Denmark as well. So they're not only drinking or trying to drink pig's blood, but they're also killing literally millions of minks. And this is a big story, actually. I guess you've heard about this, right? This story's been pretty big, hasn't it? Across
yeah, I've heard about it.
Social media. And I found this one, and actually, in my video, I ripped into this farmer because actually the article itself is not necessarily focusing on the mink, right? There's like 17 million of them going to be killed. This farmer who's talking in the article has 30,000, and the article here is basically about him. Look at this, like, this guy, his name's John Papso, is devastated. You can hear it in his voice over the phone from Jutland. Like every other fur farmer in Denmark, he has 10 days to kill his mink. And it's all like, this poor farmer, this poor guy. Like, he's
and it's
crying,
also not because
like,
he has to get rid of his companions, it's because he's going to be losing money.
Right, exactly. Like, yeah. And he's like, it's horrible, you know, we're shell-shocked. I've cried. It's a state of shock. And you know, he's talking about how, you know, the call and this, it's 30 years of work, our business is destroyed. And it's saying, you know, it's 99% certain the industry's not going to come back from this. And not once in this article, not once did they talk about how the 17 million mink being killed is horrendous. or actually, they never even talk about the fact that they were going to be killed anyway. But the only difference now is that you don't get to sell their skin. Like, the article just avoids all of that. And it's so, I find it so strange that like an article, that these journalists, and they just don't realize this, like, they're reporting on this, and this guy's like, it's a tragedy. And it's like, well, the only tragedy in this farmer's eyes is the fact that he doesn't get to profit from them being killed. This is the tragedy. The tragedy to him and the tragedy to this article is not the death of 17 million minks. That's what the article kind of makes you feel like it is, though. Like, when people hear about this cull, they're like, oh my God, those poor minks, right? That's what the average person would think. But in reality, that's not what the sad part is for these industries. The sad part is that they just don't get to make money off it, right? And it's a really interesting kind of, like, it's interesting how the article and the journalists try to appeal to your emotions, but no one gave a shit about the fact they were going to die anyway.
Yeah,
it's just now that they have to all be killed at the same time, somehow it's worse. I don't follow, you know. It's very strange. I don't get it. And it talks about how, you know, they're using CO2 gas and they'll fall to sleep in 10 to 15 seconds, and we know that's absolute bullshit as well. And we know what CO2 gas does to animals. So it was just a really disturbing article. Do you have any, like, what are your thoughts on all of this? I mean, I know you probably, you know, not going to disagree with what I've said, but do you have anything to, like, add to this? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it.
Yeah,
you know, you go ahead, Red.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said, David. I think it really just shows the deeply rooted human supremacy. And I think maybe what happened is, I mean, I don't know, but I'm guessing maybe they did see the public. People were starting to post on social media like, oh my God, this is horrible. They're going to kill 17 million minks. Then this article is written up to completely turn the conversation away. Like, look how sad the farmer is. He's been crying. His business is going to be destroyed. You know, he's going to have to put these animals to sleep where they just fall asleep in 10 seconds. It's so hard for the farmer and I feel like it's totally just, in every sentence, they're just trying to steer it away from you even thinking about the animals, because then what they're really afraid of is if you did, then you would never support mink farming again with your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not like it's not like he would let them finish their lives. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
they would just end up being killed just a little bit later. That's the only difference, literally. So what's the point? Um, it's a very disturbing article that's clearly just a desperate reach for attention and help. And it's the way I see it, it's a desperate call for attention and help in a time where all of these horrible industries are dying, and this is the only way they're trying to save themselves with this type of advertisement. Trying to make it seem like they're feeling for the animals and everything is so sad, but they don't give a fuck one single bit, and everything is about the profit. And it's very, very clear from that article.
Absolutely, it's all about the bottom line. It's yeah, and it's a winner though, because people like to believe they care about animals, right? So when these opportunities come up to write an article like this that plays to the emotions of people, that makes them feel sorry for animals, they go for it, even though it's about a fucking farmer who was going to kill them all anyway. It's so illogical, isn't it? It's so illogical that they drive people's emotions towards minks and to somebody who breeds minks to slit their throats and sell their bodies, sell their skin. It's like it's intelligent journalism. It is. It's also disturbing journalism at the same time. These manipulative fucks get away with it, right? But I'll keep bringing this up in live streams and videos. And as you said, Hudson, this is the reason I don't avoid this kind of stuff, and I don't just go for the positive stuff, because this shit needs to be called out by more of us. We need to launch an attack against this bullshit media and keep it strong. And I don't know if my videos don't have a massive impact. I'm sure they don't right now, but I hope one day, if I keep doing this long enough, I hope one day, there'll be a huge reach, and these clips will actually get out to a lot of people, and help wake some people up. I think on Instagram they do, for sure. On YouTube maybe not so much just yet, but I'm working on that. And I have another story to share with you. This one I really need to get your opinions on this, because this is a very interesting topic that I'm very torn up on. So this article I found is in France, where the local circuses and sea life parks were pissed off, and they were hitting back at the government because of the government banning wild animals in these places. And this is a debate that I got into actually with my partner, with Annie. Not a debate, but a discussion about what happens when we as animal rights activists are successful in getting a ban put in place, or in getting an animal taken from one place to another, but we haven't actually figured out what we're going to do next. And this is kind of what's happening in France, and it's happened also. There was a group in Finland that did a similar thing. They were able to, I believe, get dolphins out of a sea center, but there was some complication in the transport or where they were going to go, and their dolphins ended up coming off worse off the back of this, right? They would have been better off staying in the center they were in, is what I'm trying to say. So when this happens, is it, I guess what I'm trying to get through here is is it sustainable, let's say, to be going for bans and pushing for these things and getting these animals out of these places, if we don't have the necessary places to take them and to care for them? So this circus, for example, they were saying that the circuses have 800 animals, 450 wild animals. Each has specialist needs and diets. They have 3,000 staff who work with them all the time. And they're saying that, where are you going to find a place that can give these animals better care than we give them, right? Yes, they're exploiting them for entertainment, but it's a sensible question to ask. They exploit them for entertainment, and that's not good, and they can keep them in cages, and that's horrible as well. But they have to keep them healthy for the entertainment purposes, and they have the specialized diets and people who've worked with them for years. And if they are going to ban that, where are they going to go? Who are these specialists going to be? How many staff are they going to have? Right. This is the argument they're making. So what are your reactions to this? Where do you stand on something this? It's quite like this. It's quite complicated, right?
Yeah. This is a question that I've been asking myself quite a lot, especially since, my family runs an animal sanctuary, and we need many places like this, and not just so-called factory, farm animals, but also wildlife. And there are so many places like this. But I think there's one very important thing to keep in mind, and this is, this applies to circuses, this applies to I guess zoos, but it also applies to animals who are being slaughtered and bred for consumption, for our consumption. And that's that, for example, many people ask, well, if we all stop consuming animal products, well, what are we going to do with all those animals? And obviously we know the answer. Well, we keep breeding those animals into existence, and so this is going to stop. But then of course you will end up having many animals, billions of animals, who literally have nowhere to go, right? And that's going to cause some chaos in society for quite some time. But we have to look at these things in in the long run, right? So for example, if we manage to get a ban on circuses, if we manage to get a ban on this and that, there will be a very chaotic situation at first, because there's going to be a lot of animals who need places to go. But at the same time, in the long run, we're not going to keep doing that in the future, right? So it's kind of it's a very hard situation, and it's like it kills you, because all of a sudden, in some situations, I believe we will have to kind of there will be situations where some animals will just, no one's going to take care of them. You know what I mean? And I'm afraid, sometimes I ask myself, like, is that necessary? Can we take care of all of them? Or is that just a price that we will have to pay? Is that just something that we will have to go through in order to kind of get where we want to get in the long run, so that we stop doing these things in the long run, in the future? So yeah, it's a very, very important topic, and I'm also interested in what you guys feel, what you guys think about that.
I just want to quickly respond to that before I go to Hudson. Just as something I want to I draw a distinction between animal agriculture as like for food and clothing and all these kind of things, because the idea that this would one day become illegal, like it's really not, it's not going to happen. Basically, it's not going to happen. I believe with animal agriculture in general, it's going to be very, very gradual. And yeah, of course, we're going to be left with some tough decisions to make about the animals. But with this specific example of the circus animals, you're finding a lot of countries in Europe now are literally just going like, no, animal circuses banned. Like it's not like a gradual thing. They're just like, no, banned, done. And they weren't breeding these animals like in masses for these circuses. These are animals that have been living in the circuses for a long time, right? So this is the kind of this unique situation, like a circus or like a SeaWorld, for example, or even like, imagine they banned zoos, right? Banned wild animals in zoos. It's comparable. The question, I guess, that's popping up for me is we want the best for these animals, right? We want them to be safe. We want them to be not be suffering. And where I'm kind of drawing a bit of a conflict in myself here is ideologically, it is better that they're no longer in those places because we want them to be free. However, we need to be realistic in the fact that they're not going to be free. They're never going to be free, because they can't be rehabilitated, these animals, right? So then we could ask the question, when they ban a circus, or they ban a SeaWorld, for example, or they ban a zoo, where do these animals go? And is it even going to be any better than the situation they were in previously? And if not, then what are we doing trying to ban it if we're going to make their lives worse? And that's really, really, like you said, it's a tough thing. It breaks you inside, because you're like, you want what's best, and you know these places are not good. You know that these circuses are not good. But then if there's no solution, if there's no alternative to somewhere to take them that can care for them as well, I mean, well, look, we've got to think about what's best for the animals rather than what's best for our ideology. And this is kind of where I've been left up thinking, like, what the fuck, where do I stand on this? Because it's vegan ethics versus what's best for the animals, and it seems like they're not aligning here, which is kind of crazy, right? Hudson, what do you think, man?
This is such an interesting topic, something I've never even thought about. So, man, I feel I feel like I'm not vegan for saying this, but I feel like it would be I feel like it might, if I, now going forward, let's say one of these days I'm part of something, trying to get some change for, circus animals and SeaWorld and stuff. I feel like it might be more effective to say, like, create a bill where it's like, going forward, you cannot like import any wild animals into these places, because yeah, it's a good point. Like a place like SeaWorld, I mean, I remember I used to go there as a non-vegan. There's like dozens of giant, like 100-foot whales who've like lived there their entire life. Like if you put them in the wild, they would instantly like die because they wouldn't know what to do. And yeah, it's not like if you have hundreds of whales, you can't just find a sanctuary to put hundreds of 50-foot whales. So I think, yeah, that's such an interesting one. Man, I feel like it might be kind of one of those things how, you can't just let a lot of places, unfortunately, they'll have to put down like shelters have to put down dogs and cats because they're just like, literally, you cannot take in every single dog and cat in some of these facilities. And even a lot of like sanctuaries, if someone comes in with animals, they're like, hey, like we can't take any more animals. And I feel like it might be one of those things where, unfortunately, given that we don't have an unlimited amount of sanctuaries and amount of supply, that it might be more effective to, and maybe this would vary based on like each like area, but in some areas, if that's the case in France, it might be more effective to say, going forward, you can't import any wild animals into circuses and zoos and stuff.
Back now? Are we back?
Oh, wait.
Yeah. It's my fault, I think. Yeah, it was.
Okay. It was but yeah, I mean, I hate it that I'm even saying that, but if I'm just gonna be practical here, I think that would make more sense.
And it is kind of the vegan ethics and the vegan ideology. The ideology word's not right, but it is vegan ethics and our ideology, personal ideologies, that we're trying to do the best for animals, and a free animal is better than a confined animal. But yeah, it seems like you're saying something that is not vegan when you say that, oh, maybe it would be best if the animals, they're in those places, stay in those places, because the alternative is them suffering. Like, yes, maybe they would be no longer in a zoo, right, or in an aquarium or in a circus, which ideologically sounds like, yeah, they're no longer there anymore. But then if they go to a place that cannot care for them properly, but they're not, at least they're not in a zoo, it's kind of like, well, we have that's the ideology taking over, isn't it? Like, anything but a zoo. Well, it's like, no, not anything but a zoo, because the alternative is going to be worse for them, and we need to think about what they want, what's going to benefit them. It's really tough. That I'm also feeling like it's a weird area to go into, but I don't feel like really anyone gets into this. We're all just protesting and like, yeah, fuck these people, fuck these places, fuck this, like, get these animals out of there. But like, how much are we thinking about what happens next?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of happened in France. I feel like this is kind of what's literally happened. I was so happy when I read about the ban, and then I read this article and I'm like, I never even considered that. I really didn't think about that for a second. Like, oh, wait a minute, who's going to care for them now? Where are they going to go? Are they going to have specialists? Do people know what the fuck they're doing? Do people know more about what they're doing than these people who've cared for them for years? I mean, it's likely not to be to be the case. It's pretty fucked up.
It's here, the place where I live, and we have our animal sanctuary. We're all learning, and all the people I know in sanctuaries, they're kind of they're working with what they have, and it's how to treat pigs and chickens and cows and these types of animals. What do you do with a fucking elephant? Like, how do you take care if you're not a specialist? If you have no fucking clue, how do you take How do you take, like, what are you supposed to do? You need specialists, or you need to spend a lot of time learning a lot of shit, and you need a lot of resources, and you need a lot of space. And, you know, like, imagine here in this tiny village in the middle of nowhere where I live in, imagine, you know, people are already freaked out by the fact that we have a pig in the house. Imagine what they would like, imagine having an elephant here or something, you know what I mean? Like, who's going to take care of them? It's crazy. Who's going to take care of them? So that's a very valid point, and I'm so happy that you brought that up, because exactly like you said, many of us, we just go out to protest, we just go out to fight, and then what do we do when the battle is won, so to speak, when the ban is there in place, when it's been implemented? Like, what do we do with those animals? That's going to be a very tough task to accomplish.
And you talked about elephants as an example, and you know, someone also mentioned in the comments, Brave Into Future mentioned carnivores as well, like carnivorous animals. And the thing is with the carnivorous animals, like big carnivorous animals and elephants, is that not only does their health come into this, and it's obviously the most important point, your health comes into this, because if you don't know how to care for an elephant or a big carnivorous animal, you're dead. You're literally dead. Like, not that the elephant would want to kill you, but you know, you need to understand the behavior of them, and they will kill you if you get it wrong. And a big carnivorous animal, they're going to kill you any chance they get. Like, most of them, I mean, unless they've been raised with humans and since they've been a baby. Like, there are some examples, but you know, most of them, like a bear or a lion, you're just food. Like, either you're feeding them or you are the food, right? That's kind of how it's going to be. So yeah, it's getting this right is paramount. And also somebody also mentioned Brave Into Future on the same topic of carnivorous animals. You got to consider also, when you do take them into a new home, a new place, and you're going to care for them, well, you've got to feed them. And if they're a big carnivorous animal, that's a lot of other animals that you've got to kill or pay someone to kill. And then we're into a whole nother thing now, right? We're trying to shut these places down, fine. But what happens next then with the carnivorous animals? Well, what is the vegan way of fixing that problem, right? Because I'm going to go ahead and assume that you can't rehabilitate one of these carnivorous animals. And even if you could rehabilitate them, is that ethical to rehabilitate a fucking, killer, like an elite killer? Like, these carnivorous, I'm talking about bears here, for example, or lions or tigers. These aren't just like animals that kill a few animals. They're like expert killers. Is it ethical to put one of those guys back into the wild and let them wreak havoc on all the other animals? And if not, is it ethical to go out and kill the other animals yourself to feed them, now that we've got them out of the circus or wherever they were, whether it's a circus or something or not? Just in general, is this ethical to do either of these two things? Are you hearing me right now?
Yeah. It's one of those things. Like,
it's a very good question.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
That's like,
oh wow! I don't think I've ever seen either of you speechless.
That's true. I talk a lot, but we all do. But I mean, a lot of us have cats, right? So many people who have cats, and not a lot of them seem to have that same dilemma. Or snakes, like it's so easy for people to just go ahead and buy a product that's been initially made out of several dead animals, and they have zero problems feeding that to the cat. It's a similar situation, although with a tiger, with a bear, you would have to kill a lot of big ass animals. But yeah, a lot of people don't really seem to mind. It's a very complex thing. I mean, it's, in the first place, we shouldn't be having those animals in our households. But obviously, we are in a very, the society that we live in. There's so many of these animals who need to be taken care of, and it's a very, very tough spot that it puts you in. Like, what do you do? It's something that I've been wondering about for a very long time, because there are cats here, and people donate food for them, and it's full of animal flesh or the scraps from slaughterhouses, and I know it's not even good for the cats, so you don't even want to feed it to them. And then exactly, what do you do with a bear once the ban is there? Like,
Yeah.
to see, now you gave me something to think about and something to research a lot, because this is a very interesting thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's something that's
a
never
very
talked about. Like we're just out there protesting, and then when we finally get what we want, it's like, oh, wait a minute here. It's actually, how in the world are we going to do this?
Yeah. I think it's quite a popular criticism with anti-vegans who actually do some research and don't just drink the anti-vegan Kool-Aid. Like, I think I've seen a few of these more famous guys mention this, and I at the time I was like, it's a gray area that you just, it's not something that's ever going to happen. And now I've seen it happen, and I'm like, oh fuck, like that's, maybe. A clock is right. A broken clock is right 2 times a day, right? So maybe sometimes these anti-vegans actually have a point that needs to be discussed. We can't just dismiss everything they say because they're ideological idiots, which they are. Sometimes they'll get something right like this, where they'll say, right, what are you going to fucking do with the animals? And obviously, when we're talking about animal agriculture, we know the answer, that we know that this situation wouldn't happen, right? But when we apply that same question to circuses or zoos, it brings up a lot of interesting and I don't want to say the word troublesome things. I hate using the word problematic. I fucking hate that word. I get like PTSD when I see that word. But a few people have given some of their opinions on this in the comments, and I want to just put some up and kind of I think they sound very ideal, but I don't think they're realistic. Like, for example, Kirsten Mama says turn zoos into sanctuaries when the ban comes in place, and that seems very, very beautiful and amazing, but it requires a lot of money, and it requires money to run it, and you got to pay all the staff, and they're no longer making money, right? Because they were a zoo, and now they're not a zoo, so the money's gone, and this is the same with Trevor. Employ the former keepers, it's there's no money to employ them. This is the point. There's no money coming in. The government doesn't care about these animals enough to pay people to look after them. It would need to come from either community donations or something. But I'm trying to find solutions here at the same time. But I feel like we have to be more realistic. And I feel like too many vegans and animal rights activists, we just say stuff like, "Oh, sanctuaries will sort it out," or sanctuaries have got it covered. And it's like, well, I mean, the sanctuaries barely get funding as it is. How do you expect they're going to get funding now they've got fucking 2 elephants? I mean, elephants are not like cheap to care for. I mean, and specialists. I mean, if you're in a country in Europe, where the fuck are you going to find an elephant specialist if they have a health problem, right? and how much are they going to charge? It's gonna be wild, right?
Yeah, exactly. I know how hard that is, because that's my firsthand experience, and we are literally struggling to keep those animals alive here, and we have 35 really small animals. Like, what do it's crazy. So it's a very nice idea to turn zoos into sanctuaries, to turn this into that, but just like you mentioned, the government doesn't care enough to send subsidies to those types of projects, which is maybe something that we could focus on in the future. Like, we can try to create that change and force certain, just create a lot of pressure and put that on the politicians, on the government, and try to make that happen, which is ultimately what we're also trying to do with, in the animal rights movement already, when it comes to the shift to the plant-based food system. And so ultimately the idea is to, instead of just always trying to make everyone in the public go vegan, just change the system and make it easier for people, make it more accessible for people to do that, to make that change. So the same idea would apply to this situation. Maybe just force the government to make that change, put a lot of pressure on them, gain a lot of support from the people, and try to make that change from above, And then maybe if there's some money going into those projects, maybe we could find a way to take care of those animals, turn zoos into sanctuaries, to turn SeaWorld into, marine life sanctuary, something like that. It is doable. It's just that the money isn't where it's supposed to be. And we should find a way to, to make it happen.
Absolutely. And just to clarify here for anyone that's, I feel like maybe one or two people maybe missed the point I was getting at here. We're not talking about animal agriculture. That's a separate thing. Animal agriculture, they're breeding and enslaving, manipulating and killing animals like every fucking minute of every day. That's an entire different thing. That will, as we all change, that will change. That will get less and less and less and less until there will come a point maybe where we'll have animals that need to be, handled, but they're going to be herbivorous and relatively easy to care for, right? I'm talking specifically here about the issues with fucking whales, dolphins, and elephants and tigers, and animals that are in zoos and circuses, because this is a completely separate thing. These are animals that require extremely specialized care, whereas like pigs, cows, chickens, and farmed animals, they require care, of course, but the care is available pretty much everywhere in most countries at reasonable prices, because that it's normal that they need care. Like these industries have been operating for years, so there are specialists and vets who know how to handle them, and it's a completely different thing. But yeah, that was a really interesting discussion, and I don't really feel like we got a solution, but that's all right. I think we need to have a lot more discussions with a lot more people to maybe find a solution. I'd be interested to actually ask Roger Yates about this and any other activists who've been around for a very long time, to see if this has been spoken about before, because I'm sure no, it's not if, it's definitely been discussed before, hasn't it? Right? With activists maybe like who've been doing this for a very, very long time. I'm sure these discussions have been happening for years and years. I'd love to see what others think about it, people who've been around and working with animal rights for a long time. Maybe they could teach us something and enlighten us on this topic with what they know. So I'll look into that, and for a future one. And we'll close up. I see you guys are looking a little bit faded. I feel like you're losing your energy. So we're gonna do one more topic, and then we'll close it off. All right. It's like it's 20 to 10 here anyway, as well. And we're almost at 2 hours, so I think it's a good time to slow down and close up with some good news, because we're going to finish on the same good news that was in the 5-Minute Friday, and because it is awesome. So this guy's a vegan activist, and he's just been elected as the first openly gay black member of the New York Senate. To be honest with you, I found this to be a little bit unnecessary. Like, who he is shouldn't really be that important. It should be more important about what he stands for. So I find that to be a little bit strange as to why that was put there. But anyway, the point is, this guy is not just a vegan or a plant-based person who's got that position. He is like a full-on activist. And I actually went on his website to see about this, right? You got to check this out. So look at this. He actually has a section of his website that is specifically for animal rights. Tell me the last time you saw a politician have a specific section about animal rights. It's insane. So like, he talks about basically what he's been doing, this animal advocate for years. He believes all living creatures deserve dignity, protection by the law. He talks about animal ag and how they abuse, exploit, and commodify animals. Like, he wants to get legal rights and safety protections for wildlife, farm animals, and domestic animals. How fucking awesome is that shit? Like, that somebody who's just got a position in New York, in the politics in New York and the political system, has this strong belief system. And look at this. He's talking about banning the sale of cats, dogs, and rabbits, banning the sale of fur, outlawing some farming practices, redirecting dairy subsidies into programs for farmers to exit the dairy industry, teaching humane education in schools, ending these classroom incubation projects where they get chickens and hatch them in this classroom, ban traveling rodeos, cease slaughter of animals in live animal markets, and banning wildlife killing contests. So, like, I mean, how awesome is that?
Yeah, that's super cool. I'm in New York right now, and I didn't even know this guy was elected. So that's crazy.
Dude, you should. I don't know how famous this guy is, but you should try and contact him, man. See if he wants to come and do a video with you. Like, I don't think
Yeah,
he's
that'd be
like,
cool.
I don't think he's totally unaccessible or something. I reckon he would be accessible, and I reckon he'd love to do that with
curious.
you.
Click on his Twitter. How many like followers in the top right? How many followers does he have?
Oh yeah, let's see. Okay, okay. His Twitter.
Oh, yeah, not that many.
Not many, man. Like, dude, you should. Oh my god, I would fucking love that if you could get in touch with this guy and do a video, man.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
that'd be incredible. Yeah.
I think that's really cool. How, because I was skeptical when I saw Veg News, because they're the same people who were talking about Cory Booker, the vegan activist, and then Cory Booker came out in an interview and people were like, "Do you think people should go vegan?" He's like, "Oh, absolutely not. It's a personal choice." Like, I'll say it again, absolutely not. Nobody should go vegan. And that tends to be what most politicians are doing, even the vegan politicians, because they're just kind of they're vegan, but then they pay lip service to get votes from non-vegans. So
yeah,
I think that's really cool. There's actually a whole section on animal rights on this guy's page.
It's awesome, man. And it's like, he doesn't even pull any punches, right? You know how we talked about earlier about David Attenborough and the other documentary and the celebrities and the game changers, like, pulling punches and trying not to be so extreme. And this dude's like, nah, you're all right. I'm going to go fucking in. He's like talking about abuse, talking about animal ag and how
and he's not saying
animals.
Like, something about, bigger cages or anything.
Exactly. Yeah, he's going for it. And
cool.
Vegan Lynn's asking, what is he running for? He is a member of the state in New York. Like, he is a member of the state Senate. He's won that position already. He's been elected into that already. So yeah, he's already there. He's done it. It's huge news. So yeah, Hudson, please try and get in contact with this guy.
Okay, yeah, we'll do.
Fucking cool.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, and do a live stream with him on do a YouTube live with him, and I'll come in and I'll be like, I just want to like literally just like tell him how much I love him, and then I'll leave because I'm so impressed by this. Honestly, this is like so refreshing, It's so
that
nice
is really
to
cool.
see.
That's awesome.
It's so nice to so nice to see something like this where you're
How did you hear about this?
It was with where's it gone? Vegnews.com. So basically, they had a story about it where they were focusing on him being black and gay, and like they mentioned he's an animal rights activist, but like I don't know. I read the title and I was like, is this just like someone saying they're an activist? Is it going to be one of those things, right?
Yeah.
And
I
went to,
those big news things say everybody's a vegan activist.
Exactly, right. So I was thinking, oh, here we go, and then I came on and found this, and I was just like, yeah, pumped. I
actually thought, he said the first thing as a vegan, so he didn't shy away.
Right. Exactly. When I read the first the line openly gay and black whatever activist or whatever they said, I thought, oh, this is just this vegan news like pandering to try to appeal to, like, because it's very much like a topic right now that that we need to see more representation in politics of, like, gay people, LGBT people, black people. So I just thought, okay, they're just pushing this story because it fits the narrative, and I didn't expect him to be so hardcore onto animal rights. And the reason I said earlier as well, like, I didn't appreciate them labeling him like that, is that on his page he doesn't actually talk about, I mean, from what I could see, he doesn't talk about his identity as being like gay and black as part of his campaign, but he does talk about animal rights. So it's like, focus on that. Like, the dude is passionate about animal rights. He's not, you can't be, it would be strange to be passionate about being gay because you just are gay. Like, that's who you are. Like, you know what I mean? It's not something he chose, it's something he is. And being black, it's not something he chose, it's something he is. But being an animal rights activist is something he chose. And I believe that should be the main focus of any story on this guy, like, and all of his other policies, like, not his identity. But that's a whole separate topic. I'm just kind of sick of identity politics, to be honest with you. And I feel, yeah, I'm so happy to see this guy anyway, doing this. So yeah, hopefully you can get him on a stream. We can talk about it. And Annie also mentioned to me, by the way, that I didn't announce that we're going to do a live stream, do a Q&A, sorry. So if you guys have like a few more minutes, we could do a little Q&A. If I'm not pushing you too hard, maybe like 10 minutes maximum, something like that. Is that cool with you?
Sure.
All right, cool. Sure. So if you have questions, then now's the time to send them. And if you want to be extra super nice, if you've really enjoyed the live stream, then you could just, you know, do a little super chat, and then you can like help me out so that I can keep doing this on a regular basis. And if you want to support me in the long run, if you want to keep on supporting me, then please do check out my Patreon, where you can actually contribute to the work that I'm doing on a monthly basis. The minimum is $1. Might not seem like a lot to you, but it really does help me. And I don't really focus on this very much, but I'm gonna have to start focusing on it because I need to survive. I need to sustain myself while doing this, and you can really help that if you enjoy these videos and you appreciate the work. So please consider that. But yes, the questions are now open to you, Q&A for myself, Hudson, or Radim. So fire them off now. Whilst that's going, whilst people are gonna figure out what they want to ask, it sometimes takes a few minutes, so we can just keep on having a little chat. So Hudson, what time is it where you are right now?
Almost 3 p.m.
Oh, that's not bad. Cool.
Where are you in India right now, David? Where are you?
Did you ask me if I'm in India right now?
Yeah, you're always all over the place. So where are you living right now?
I'm now in Finland.
Oh, Finland. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was in Athens for a little bit because we were checking the place out to see if it's feasible for a place to live, like as in could we move there, because we need to live in our own place and Finland is way too expensive. So and it's pretty awesome actually. Athens is pretty amazing. So yeah, we were there for a little bit, and then we got stuck there inside for quite a lot because there was a lockdown and our flight got cancelled and we had to rebook a flight. That wasn't good, but yeah, back in Finland now.
Oh, okay, cool.
We lost Radim. Oh, he's coming back. He's coming back.
Oh, there he is.
All right, we've got him back.
Hey,
so Annie asked a question.
Sorry,
what's up, man?
I just didn't hear anything for like 4 minutes. Everything was just like I heard sound, but it was just like so I didn't hear anything. I had no idea what was going on.
Oh, you
but I just heard something about questions, and that was it. And
yeah, it wasn't important. It wasn't important.
I just wanted to. It kind of keeps happening, so I'll see if it's getting better eventually. But I just wanted to quickly say, because I didn't get a chance to say something about that, and I'm just so excited about this information that when I saw it, it just, I don't know, it made me so happy. And I would like to say that I do believe it's actually really important.
What's important, man? Yeah. I saw that Radim was about to say something that disagreed with me, so I decided to cut him. He's been booted, and this is how I moderate. If you disagree with me, you're out. So sorry, Radim. Anyway, Hudson. So let's continue. I'm joking. He's back. There we go. Are you back now?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's important, man?
I'm so confused. It keeps kicking me out. All right. All right. I was saying that I do believe it is quite essential to, or very important. Although I do get your point, I do believe it's quite important to mention these things. They're just who he is. But if we're talking about people of color, we're looking at so many years of oppression. If we're looking at gay people, we're looking at many years of oppression. Those are minorities that have been prevented from these. A couple of years ago, no one like that would have been elected. So I do believe this is a very nice sign of progress in our society, and it actually made me super happy. However, when it comes to that vegan part, that is, add that to the equation. You're looking at, that's like another minority in the society that's like being mocked for many years now, and so it's like,
yeah. God damn. Oh, he needs to finish this point. It's a good point. It's a good point, and I want him to finish it so he can. Okay, he's back.
What country does Radim live in?
He's currently in the Czech Republic.
This connection right here is absurd.
Right. Go quick.
Anyway, before he kicks me out again, I'm just gonna say that this just made my day. This information right here made my day, and I'm super happy about that. Hudson will be able to get in touch with this guy and hopefully make a stream or something, because it honestly made my day. So
I just want to
yeah,
quickly
cheers
say
to
thank
that.
you to Brave Into Future for that €5 contribution. That's awesome, and you can see that they say they appreciate my work and you guys as well. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot, and these contributions are going to make it possible for me to continue doing this and sustaining myself. So thank you so much. But responding to your point, Radim, this is a definitely a sensitive topic, but I totally agree with you that it's important, and it's a great sign of progression. What I don't like is that painting it out as if that he got that position. Can you hear me right now? Oh, he's gone again.
Oh no.
I've got a point that's like, it's definitely controversial, but I hope we can kind of understand each other on this. You know, I'll wait for a second. Come on, Radim. This is the last time now. I'm gonna say this like super quickly, and then if it cuts out again, then so be it. All right. Come on, man. Sort your internet out. Come on, man. Hudson, what do you think about the whole election debacle in the USA, man? What's it like over there?
It's normal. I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe you guys in the news, like a ton of people have asked me that, because I have a lot of followers from outside the US, but I feel like you're only seeing the news and you're not seeing just, I don't know. It was kind of crazy. Like the first day, which is actually International Cube Day. It was kind of like a crazy day. There's like, everybody was like honking their horns in their car and stuff. And like, but I don't know. I don't follow politics. I don't really know anything about it.
Sure.
But yeah, it's been fine.
Oh, that's good, man. Like that you've not been involved or you've not seen any of the violence then, because like I've seen some stuff from today, and like holy shit, like some of the violence between the Proud Boys and Antifa, like it's insane. They've been beating the shit out of each other. I saw some videos today, but yeah, you said the media, and like, you know, this was actually actual individual Instagrammers though who filmed it. But yeah, obviously that the violence is the stuff that's going to get seen more, isn't it? Right? Peaceful protests are going to be ignored. Violence is going to be the stuff that spreads. And so I guess yeah, it's not as crazy as it's been made out to be. But basically, Radim, I'll just go really quick. My point that I was trying to make. Actually, one second first of all, because we just got another donation. I have to say thank you so much. No question from just the Babsy. Just want to say they appreciate the discussion and we need more of these. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to these awesome guests as well. They make this discussion as good as it was. I've really enjoyed it. But yeah, my point was, I just didn't like it. Kind of suggests to me when they put those things in a headline that he got the role because of those things. And it's like, no, this dude got the role because of what he stands for, not because of what he identifies as. And Kirsten Mama also put this as well. She said, we get your point. It's more important to be for Black rights than just being Black. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here. It doesn't matter that he's Black and gay. Yeah. It matters that he stands for Black rights and he stands for LGBT rights. That's what's important, right? And I don't know. I guess the article wasn't meaning to pander but actually, no, I disagree. Actually, the article did mean to pander. It wanted to get clicks because it included the words, you know, Black, gay, right? And I just kind of get sick of seeing that. It's like, talk about who he is and what he's done and what he's going to do for the world. Don't talk about the fact that he's Black and gay. I mean, maybe include it in the article, but not as the headline. That's not who he is. That's not what he's about. Like, you know, talk about what he's achieved or what he's going to achieve. Like that's more important. Like, what does he stand for? Who is he? You know, that's what I'm getting at here. And I wish we could see more of that rather than identity politics. Although I agree with you that it is fantastic and it's very progressive for sure. But if that's the reason he got the job, then that's not progressive at all. That's actually regressive. Right. Selecting someone based on their identity is regressive. That's the past. That's what they were doing. You know, we're just going to keep doing that. Like, I hope not. I hope we can actually have actual equality. You know, that's a really big topic though. but I think we're singing from the same hymn sheet, to be
Definitely.
honest. Annie has a question. I put it up briefly, but it's back again. Radim, can you tell us a bit more about your family's sanctuary, who lives there, and how we can find and follow you?
Yeah, definitely. So the name is Ponto, Ponto. So you can find us on Facebook or Instagram. And I'm currently working on a new website. So we don't have a website yet, but the Instagram is Ponto_sanctuary, Ponto_sanctuary. And it is located in the Czech Republic in Central Europe. And it's just my mom and her boyfriend, and I live here whenever I'm in the country. I usually travel all over the place, so it's just the three of us, and a bunch of volunteers who come every now and then to help out, and that's basically it. All the information is on the page, and if you ever want to get in touch with me, I actually not disabled, but I quit my Instagram yesterday, my personal one, for some time to take a break, but I'm going to be active on the sanctuary one. So if you want to get in touch with me and ask any questions or come visit or volunteer or support us in any way, then I'm there.
That's a very cheeky way for you to continue using Instagram whilst telling everybody that you've quit Instagram, by the way. That's some bullshit right there. Calling you out on that.
I'm going to get canceled. No, the Instagram for the sanctuary, it has to keep rolling. It has to keep rolling. But it's, it's not like I don't follow anyone there. I'm not checking anyone's feed. I'm just like dealing with the necessary stuff, and that's it. And so yeah, I'm happy about that.
Did you watch the Social Dilemma? Has that influenced your decision?
Oh, it's not the reason why I did it, but I have watched it, and it's incredible. Yeah.
Hudson, have you seen that, man?
Everyone's been talking about it. No, I haven't seen it.
Oh man, it's gonna fuck with you. You need to watch it, and that goes for everybody else on here. If you've not seen the movie, The Social Dilemma, you need to watch that movie. It's not a movie; it's a documentary kind of thing. Like it's like I don't know, it's like a movie and a documentary, but it's it's mind blowing, and it'll make you think about this in a very, very different way. Trust me. You will be terrified of your phone if you watch that thing. It is crazy. But helpful, very helpful, actually. I feel like it really helped me. And obviously it's helped Radim because now he's quit Instagram. So there you go. Or you've gone on a hiatus from Instagram. Cool. All right, we'll wrap it up.
I'm just getting up to like the end of the year or something, and then we'll see how I feel.
Cool. Yeah, dude, I did the same thing, man. I did the same thing last year over Christmas. I got into, there was a lot of drama going on around me. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it wasn't pleasant. People were being assholes. So I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I was like, I'm just going to turn all this shit off for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then once I thought about it all, and I think sometimes you need to take some time away to recover from the bullshit, because you get bullshit from vegans, you get bullshit from anti-vegans, you get bullshit from non-vegans, and sometimes you just need to figure out what are you going to do, because you can't let it get to you constantly. You just burn out.
Yeah.
And that time it gave me some time to build up a bit more of a thicker skin and learn to know when I don't need to respond, and when to just, Instagram message requests, just to know when to just delete it and don't even respond to them, just delete, right? Once you get to know that, your mental health starts to improve, I think, for sure.
Oh no.
Yeah, see, exactly. That's what he did. He's not enjoying this, and he's just like, boom, I'm out of here, right?
Now he's out of here.
Easy done. Okay, I think we'll wrap up anyway. I mean, there is one more question, actually. Hudson, are you willing to answer one more question before we wrap up? It's for you.
Sure, let's do it.
All right. So it's Kirsten Mama. She says, what is Hudson's view on veganism, if veganism, is political or not, since he isn't into politics that much?
So yeah, it's actually interesting. Just 2 days ago, we had a call with the whole Anonymous to the Voiceless team to talk about this. And So this is actually like kind of fresh in my mind. And I think what I'd say is that veganism is not political in the sense that you need to be a you need to be left or right. You can be any party, have any sort of political identity. But there are some aspects that can be political in advocacy, like, you know, trying to get rid of government subsidies and things like that. And it's not coming from a left or right wing place, but there are some times where you might need to get involved with the lawmaking and legislation side of things if you are trying to create animal liberation from certain tactics. But I wouldn't say that it's political in the sense of, oh, if you're vegan, you should vote for this politician.
So so you're drawing a line, a distinction between when people say it is or isn't political. You're saying, well, yes, it is political in that we need to change policies because it's like political policies, but it's not political in the sense that if you vote for one politician, then you're not vegan. Kind of thing. It's like, sure, yeah. I think I've seen some views on this that I do tend to agree with, in that, like, unless there is a clear vegan politician, you're basically choosing between who is more or less of an animal abuser in your eyes, or who has more or less animal abusive policies in your eyes, and that is actually what's the word I'm looking for? It can be subjective. Because, you know, there are policies between. Let's not use the USA as an example because it's too heated. But, you know, I'm sure there are other countries in the world where, like, the left wing politicians and the right wing politicians both have policies that are pro and anti animal, and you need to decide which one you think is more pro or more anti. And from person to person, they're going to have a different opinion on that. So it's kind of difficult that, you know, you can't just make a black and white statement, really, even though one of them may seem much worse to you, but to them they aren't. And you know, you could discuss this rationally and break it down, but then a lot of the times it comes down to a point where it's not actually you can't put numbers on it. You know, it's not something you can have 100% like, oh, I know for 100% that this is correct because of this. It's like, it doesn't really work like that, like, almost ever. So it is just down to what you think is better or worse. And then that's subjective, and that's what causes fights, right? The arguments that come up.
I'd also say it's like, I totally agree. It's just kind of, you're just picking who's the less of an animal abuser. And also with politics, because like when you vote for a politician, it's such a broad, like, you're voting on, like, it's like you don't have to agree. Like, you could vote for a politician because you just like their policies like 1% more than the other person.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's the same thing with that. Like, even if there does, you know, if there is like a politician who's vegan, but then like you hate all of their other stuff, and there's a guy who's not vegan, but you like all of his stuff, like, if you vote for the guy who isn't vegan, that still makes you vegan. It's just such a tough, I feel like with the way politics is worked, you're always kind of compromising something, and it's never a clean cut thing. So
it's like, for it to give you like a totally make-believe example of this, like, if imagine you have a politician, and this politician's like, right, look, I'm going to make it very difficult for the meat industry to operate. And I'm going to make a big effort on this, and like, we're going to make it, you know, we're going to do this really well. The other politician says, I don't give a fuck about the meat industry, and I'm actually going to do nothing for the animals. But if politician A, who's trying to end the meat industry, has some really, really harmful policies on, I don't know, dealing with a conflict in another country, and the other politician B has a great policy on dealing with that conflict, then this is somewhere that you wouldn't think would really impact the animals. But if politician A causes a war, that's going to massively impact the humans and the non-humans. Where politician B may not be trying to save animals, but they're trying to save everyone by not getting into a conflict. So like, it's not always clear cut on like, oh, this one says they're going to do something for the animals, so I vote for that one. It's like, okay, well, what do they say about, you know, neighboring countries? What do they say about immigration? What do they say about, there's loads of things that could impact the animals, right? Like, if one, you know, it goes on and on and on, basically, is what I'm saying. And it's not something that is black and white, and people try to make it black and white, and it's really fucking complicated. But yeah, this is for me, I'm just like commenting on this as like, again, an outsider, and it is kind of around the situation in the USA. But to be honest with you, I'm fucking sick of talking about the USA and the politics in the USA. Like, I feel like the USA politics has become like, I don't know, something that like everyone feels like they have to have a say on, including me. I've even spoken about it, you know, and I've never even been to the USA. It's like, what the fuck am I talking about this for? Sometimes you got to realize, and you're like, why am I even commenting on this shit? And I made the video about it, you know, because the reason I made the video about Trump is because I was just so sick of vegans going on about like, or, you know,
oh my God, I've never lost more followers in one day.
But I just kind of lost. I mean, I was so sick of saying this. I don't even fucking support the guy, but I was just so sick of people telling other people that like, you're not vegan if you do this. And I was like, you know what? I'm just sick of seeing this. I'm going to make this video because I'm sick of seeing it. I don't support him, but I'm not going to stand for bullshit. Like, I'll call out bullshit where I see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of, yeah, I don't regret it, but I don't think I'll do it again. You know, I don't think I'll make another video about Trump or Biden. I think I just kind of got carried away and thought, like, let's just do it, right? But I wouldn't do it again. Yeah, I'm over it. Unfortunately for you, Hudson, you're not allowed to be over it.
Yeah.
You got a fun couple of years ahead, or a couple of months even now, how things could go. But yeah, good luck with that, man. All right, listen, we've tried to close off a few times now, but this time I mean it. We're going to close up. So thank you so much for both of you for coming on and discussing these topics. And thanks, Radim, for sticking through the whole way. I know that you weren't sure if you could be here for the whole thing. So I do appreciate you sticking around and giving your input on all these topics. And I know you're probably busy working at the sanctuary. Hudson, thanks for taking the time out, dude. I hope you can both do this more often. You're welcome every Sunday.
Oh yeah, dude, that'd be great.
Awesome. And everyone else in the comments, guys, like, if you ever want to come on here and talk, you are more than welcome to. You just got to message me on Instagram, or send me an email, or send me a message wherever. I'll send you the link. You can join. Don't worry about being like a confident speaker or something like that. You don't have to be. Just jump on and have a chat. It's super chill. It's cool. So think about that for next week. And yeah. See you all again Sunday. Actually, no, before we go, one last thing. On Wednesday, I'll have a new video as usual. I'm not sure which one I'm going to post yet, but it's going to be a funny one. I'll tell you that. I'll give you that hint. It's going to be something that you'll enjoy. It'll be very entertaining. So stick around. Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We'll go premiere. We'll go live premiere for that. So I'll be there answering questions, all that good stuff, and chatting to you guys. And then the next. It will be the 5 Minute Friday in the live stream as usual. That's the schedule we're in: Wednesdays, Fridays, Sundays. So be around for when that happens. If you haven't already, put the notifications on, subscribe, turn notifications on. YouTube will detect that this means that I make good videos, right? That's what they base it on. So if you do that for me, you're really helping me out, and they'll share the video to more people. And if you support me, then I'm sure you want that. So please help me out and do that. So thanks again, Hudson. Thanks again, Radim.
Yeah, of course. Keep on doing this. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks
for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Awesome, dude. And thank you, everybody, for joining as well. See you all on Wednesday. Do you want to give them a wave? We'll close off mid-wave like some old TV series.
Yeah.
All right. Bye, guys.